Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a fantastic weekend. Today we're going to be diving into Cardano. We've got lots to go over within this video. We are going to try and keep it short and sweet, however. We will see how that goes. We're going to be diving into the price. We're going to be looking at the short term, mid term to long term, going over where Cardano is at and the sort of conditions surrounding it. We're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin, as it's important as we're looking at an altcoin to really take a look at Bitcoin and the conditions surrounding it, showing you whether we see strength or weakness over the coming days. But really where I want to start this video, guys, and we're going to get into a number of other things like DeFi. Again, we mentioned Dwayne Cameron yesterday in relation to his tweet regarding the supply shock that a DeFi ecosystem on Cardano would have. We're going to get into something else, and this is really why there's going to be a lot of attraction to the Cardano DeFi space, and that is because of yield and how high potentially they could be. But really where I want to start is with Charles's video yesterday called Post-Truth Economy. Now, this video was made in relation to the Crypto Banter YouTube channel. They had posted a video featuring a number of other individuals where they essentially bashed Cardano, said a lot of not very nice things in relation to ADA. It was quite childish how some of them went on. I think that Ran is the guy who's hosting this is a fantastic host. He's very, very good at what he does. I just happen to not agree with some of the things that were said. And this is really why Charles made the video in response to this. And he says this straight off the bat. We're going to get into that. We're also going to be playing a clip in relation to the future. And you know, Charles is exceptionally confident that we're going to succeed, and I wholeheartedly believe that Cardano is going to do very well, and it's partly to do with their peer review process. You know, they've done things right. They've not cut corners. They've not tried to rush to market and do things price associated. They've really tried to build a blockchain, and that's one reason I'm such a fan of ADA. I think they've done things the right way, and they're a very unique project in many respects because of that. So what I'm going to do to really start, we are going to get into the price on the second half of the video. There's a couple of interesting things setting up right now. Providing that Bitcoin does well, it's likely that we're going to see continuation. But what I'm going to do to really start, guys, is play a little bit of this clip. You guys can go and find it on the Crypto Banter YouTube channel. It was the title is The Best Way to Trade the 2021-2022 Crypto Market Bull Run. I have no idea who this guy is or this guy. I, of course, know who these two are. And Rand's actually a very good presenter. This isn't a hit piece at all. I just happen to think that potentially some of the ways, or certainly one of them, was very childish. And I'll just play you a little bit, but there was things said such as the fact that nothing's coming out on Cardano. You know, there's no projects, nothing's really coming out of it. And you know, insinuating that it's hype. I think one of them said this is where PhDs go to die. It was a very negative slant on it, and a lot of inaccurate information. Charles obviously addressed this, but I'll play you a little clip and then we'll get into Charles's response.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. I haven't heard much about Cardano. Has anyone here heard anything about Cardano? I saw a tweet the other day, which I must say I did laugh about. They said we live in a world where Airbnb owns no hotels, Uber doesn't have cars and is valued at X billion, Airbnb has no assets and is valued at Y billion, and Cardano has no smart contracts and is valued at...
So you can see where that's going straight away. It does get a lot worse than that. I think the guy in the bottom left said that he was supposed to fight Charles Hoskinson at one point. I don't know what that is about. I have no idea. It seemed very much like a personal vendetta between a few of them. And Rand tried to, other than that little joke that he made, which I'm going to take it as a joke, you know, he actually did very well in kind of mediating this and not letting it go as out of hand as it potentially could have. But it was very negative. They said that there was nothing coming out of ADA, that it's it's a research project, etc., etc. And there was a few other things. So I thought it was quite childish, but you know, you've got to look at the alternative opinion. And if that is the alternative view, you know, I'm happy to be on the side that I'm on. So I'm going to play Charles's response to this, why he really made that video yesterday, and then we'll get into the price and we'll wrap it up with another clip towards the end.
You know, the project is going well. And so I'm going through my sentiment scoring, my media analysis, and I was catching up on some YouTube interviews and things like that. And, one in particular just made me think a bit. And I watched a bit of it, and, I just had to turn it off. It was the Crypto Banter interview with Vinny and Brian or Bill or whatever the hell his name is. And, of course, Molten Tar Monster #3, which I have no idea why Rand invites these types of people on his show. And it made me think a bit for how can there be such a difference between actual reality and the perception of reality? Why is that so significant? Our industry in general, but it's just a microcosm of a broader issue humanity is suffering from. We're starting to all live in a post-truth economy. We grew up with these ideas that, hey, if you want to go and fundamentally change all the systems of the world, that's probably pretty hard. If you want to go and build something very complex, like a fusion reactor, or go to Mars, or if you want to go and invent an entirely new field of academic study, that's probably a life's pursuit. It's probably a super hard problem. And there's an expectation that for super hard problems, you're going to have to bring together an interdisciplinary team of people, great engineers and great scientists and great business people and great marketers and great politicians and great people all around to kind of do that great endeavor. This is how I grew up. This is how most people listening grew up. But now we live in this bizarre post-truth economy where being a unicorn means nothing. It used to be, if you do a startup and the startup is worth $1 billion, they call it a unicorn. Wow, that's an incredible accomplishment. My Lord, look at this thing. And now it's just like, whatever. What have you done for me today? Cardano as a project, if you take the industry aside for a moment and you take a look at all the things that have been achieved in this project, an army of scientists were brought together. It's not a graveyard of PhDs. They're at the top of their field. They're offered tenure. People call them on a regular basis, try to get them to lead their blockchain groups. It's the top research in the entire industry. The best papers in the entire industry by citation count and relevance. People at the top of their game came together. An army of scientists, an army of engineers came together. A giant community came together. And that community has enabled Cardano to grow to such a scale that it's a self-sustaining ecosystem. There's a massive NFT group, tons of people doing interesting things, airdrops all the time, marketplaces forming like crazy, whole wave of dexes, not just one, but like half a dozen, stable coins on the horizon, oracles on the horizon. It wasn't too long ago, just a few years ago, that if Ethereum had these things, it would have been inconceivable. Wow, so incredible. But now it's just like, how will you compete with?
Yeah, the crypto space has gone mad, and it's. I think if you've been here for, certainly if you were here in 2017 to now, you've seen that there's a lot gone on in that time, and that these things, the bear market, we essentially were stuck in a bear market. I remember the bear market very well. I'm sure many of you do, and you'll be able to attest to this. That was a painful time for crypto holders, and things take time. And because we're in this bull market, people take that for granted. It's really, it was a shame that these guys targeted ADA in the way that they did. It certainly seems like there's some sort of personal vendetta there, which you shouldn't really, as an investor, hold any kind of a personal vendetta. Maybe as a YouTuber, perhaps, but a lot of it was complete FUD. And it was a real attack on the projects, and I would suggest by what they said, they certainly aren't invested in it themselves. And they'll be invested in other competitors, and it's this competitive nature that is really bringing out comments like that. So, like I say, I think Rand's fantastic at what he does. His channel's very entertaining. The other three, I don't really know who the two on the right were. I've certainly heard of Chico Crypto before. But he seemed to have a real beef with Charles and the project. But it is what it is. Like I say, it's always good to get two opinions. Let's dive into the price, guys, and we're doing much the same thing. We are showing some signs of strength on the hourly. You can kind of potentially see that we may be forming a little bit of a head and shoulders. This being your left shoulder, this is your head, and we're forming some form of a complex right shoulder. And what I'm liking about this at the moment, with some sort of a neckline, what I'm liking is this right shoulder is weak. If this is the shoulder, we could potentially come up and do something like this. But this is already showing quite a few signs of weakness, and I like to see that. If a right shoulder is typically weaker than the left shoulder, it means that you're already kind of setting in motion that weakness that's going to lead to a sell-off. And if we invert the chart, somewhat more, you can see also you kind of bouncing around these levels that are acting as support and then resistance. So it would be quite nice to see something like this before we get that drop, and that would be your kind of head and shoulders. And of course, this is the inverse chart, so if it goes down, it goes up on the normal chart. This is all largely dependent on Bitcoin. And I'll quickly talk to you about maybe a larger kind of trend that I've got in play at the moment. We'll drop down the time zones or go up the time zones. Can you see this kind of channel that potentially you could be in with this falling wedge? And you see how what I'll do is I'll take the fib off that I've currently got on. Can you see this? And this bounce, maybe you'll start to the upside before we then see that continuation, something like that potentially. But ultimately, guys, we all know what's coming. We stressed it big time in yesterday's video in relation to DeFi. This is another Dwayne Cameron tweet where he's talking about liquid staking, liquid locked. So the idea that locked coins now become liquid and you can actually farm with them. One thing that's going to really drive, in the same way that when Aave first enlisted Polygon, many of you will remember it, I was certainly one of the early people to be yield farming via Polygon in the Aave app. You're going to see similar opportunities open up on the Cardano ecosystem and some of the protocols come out of it. Certainly the lending and borrowing ones. This is going to be, in my opinion, something that people jump on massively. This is all fantastic for the price of ADA. But we covered DeFi and what an effect that is going to have in relation to the price and the project growth. We're already seeing immense project growth. I think last epoch there was over 1 million transactions just in one epoch, which is huge. But this is, like I say, in relation to Cardano and what's going on, it's all great, but if Bitcoin decides that it wants to have a bad day, the rest of the market will. Now, there's a couple of good signs in relation to Bitcoin. We went over why Bitcoin potentially could have bottomed yesterday. You can see where your RSI is straight off the bat and how typically in these kind of, you can see where you bounce, you're kind of bouncing off this level that's actually trending upwards, which is quite a significant it makes a difference that this is trending upwards, because it's likely that you're going to see something like this and this is going to continue in coexisting with this also trending upwards as top line. So things actually don't look too bad for Bitcoin at all. We've still got a number of predictions at play, certainly plan B. We're still in this big macro head and shoulders target, but there are a couple of things that actually do look good on the short term for Bitcoin. And can you see how the 0.5 or not the 0.5, sorry, the 0.38 held you as support here? That's fantastic. That's what you want to see. You want to see what previously may have held you as resistance act as support, and it's done it essentially twice off this level. So we could be in for more continuation. We are getting sold out of this candle pretty hard right now. Let's see if this 20 EMA acts as support. Let's see what this week brings us, guys. It could be a very fruitful week. Certainly we know that potentially there are a month and 9 days left of this year. We're still expecting some sort of FOMO, some sort of parabola towards the end of the year, certainly in December, and should be starting very soon. That is really all I have for you in this video. Things look good. I thought I'd just maybe make a few comments in relation to the post-truth economy. It was a fantastic video, and it really, one reason that I like Cardano so much as a project is because their views are very much aligned with mine. I think that the way that the world is heading is terrible, and I think there needs to be something to steer us off that course. Big reason I'm into blockchain is because I think that has offered that potential. What I want to do quickly before I actually wrap the video up is play this little clip here, and then I'll leave you guys to the rest of your Saturdays. Let me know what you think in the description. This wasn't by any way, shape or form any kind of a hate piece on any of these gentlemen, but what it was, if you're going to say something publicly like that, you have to deal with the criticism that comes after. And to say that there's nothing coming out of Cardano, this individual said that nobody had ever pitched him a Cardano project. He's probably not hanging around in those kind of circles anyway, but a lot of it was unfounded, untrue. There were some critiques in there that maybe might stand, but it was largely a kind of personal vendetta that was shining through. I'm going to play this clip quickly, and then we're going to wrap the video up.
6 years of my life. But now we're here. We have strong foundations. So I have no doubt. I really don't. And I frankly feel certain that we're going to win as an ecosystem, as a movement. And I believe even the Fairweather people at some point will be converted and actually see the things that I see and you see, the community sees, which is we have, for the first time in human history, a say in how humans should live, ought to live, will live. And we actually can build a fair world for the first time ever. Not a perceived fair world, or not an afterlife which will give us a fair world, or not a commune where we can isolate ourselves and that commune could be fair. One global society where finally we're treated with some degree of objective fairness and equality, and we have access to the same opportunities, where finally there are no betters who decide things and lord over us.
Could be a bright future that we're moving towards, guys. You know, Charles is very confident. I'm certainly confident as well. I think I've done enough research into ADA to really grasp where this is going. It's got world-changing properties to it, and the short-term price volatility really doesn't reflect that. I'm going to love and leave you on that note, guys. Remember, we do have the stake pool, the all-in stake pool. There is a link to our Discord in the description, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you in the next YouTube video. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen.